Hello and welcome or welcome back to All the Stitches. My name is Colleen and I'm coming to you from the Lakes region of New Hampshire in the United States. And it's been a long time. It has been, couldn't believe it. I checked and my last video was up in May 2024. Here we are in October of 2024. I don't know. What can I say? A lot of reasons, no big deals, but life, you know, life stuff. When I started out and looked up some YouTube videos about how to make YouTube videos, they said, don't apologize for how long you've not made a video, or don't apologize for noise, you know, if you crinkle, just keep on going. But I don't agree. Because I feel like I need to apologize to you. I have many people who have been here with me for quite a while, and I get these lovely messages and emails from some of you saying, are you okay? Is everything all right? We missed you. And I appreciate that so very much. I can't even tell you. But yes, everything's okay. I have actually just sort of fell off the making bandwagon for some reason through the winter, for a few reasons, a couple of reasons. Nothing serious, but just the way it is. My shirt's all messed up. You don't mind if I have a wardrobe malfunction in the middle of the video. Oh, see my sweater? I just thought it was so cute. I was going to show you. This is my, my little fox sweater. No, I did not make it. I got this sweater from Coldwater Creek catalog, if you're interested. Just thought it was so cute. I had to have it, especially for this season. And we're in my favorite season of autumn. So I had to buckle down and make a video. And more recently, I have more to show you. So it's time, right? So this is it is a Flosstube. Did I mention that this is episode 50 and Flosstube number 19? It's also, I have a lot of quilting. I have a tiny bit of knitting content. And what else do I have? Felting. So I think that's it. I'm very unprepared. But I'm just going to wing it because I know the things I want to talk about and show you, and I'm going to just go with it. So there'll be a lot of editing. There may be some cough edits. That's a whole story at the end, which I will share with you. We did take a trip. I told you, I teased you about that a couple episodes ago. We've done that. It's done, and I'll talk about it at the very end just briefly. And I think I'll put up a few photos at the end for you to see as well. So here we are. I do have some finishes. I did not check out my last video to make sure I haven't overlapped anything, but I wanted to just show you a finish that I have done. Finally, at last, I finished the winter sampler. Get closer here. And this is the Winter Sampler by Crocette, a GoGo. And I love it. And it took me 1 year. I had recorded when I started it, which was November of 2023. And then I looked back and I put in my finish date, which was November of 2024. It was a lot of work, and I worked on it almost exclusively, though I have to say I really put it down. I didn't do any cross stitch throughout the summer, very much at all. And then I finally pushed myself to get it done, and I'm glad I did. I love it. I'm going to get it framed, I think, instead of framing it myself, just because it's such a big piece. I've said before, I've used the Vintage Country Mocha 32 count, and is it? Yeah, 32 count. I'm pretty sure. I'll put it in the comment section or in the description box below. I'll put the details. I use the called for DMC, except my white. I always use Anchor White, which stands out nicely. And I think that's it. Finally finished. Let me tell you, I felt like dancing around the house when I finally finished. I loved it. I love working on it, but a year-long project, it's kind of a lot. And I was looking forward to doing some smaller projects after this, which I've started. Next finish is a quilting finish. I am going to jump around a little bit because I just am have a lot of things all over here and I kind of need to move certain things at once. Here is my quilting finish. This is another portrait quilt. This is a portrait of Ukraine President Volodymyr Zalenskyy. And here is the lettering I put in here. The fight is here. I need ammunition, not a ride. That was something, if you remember, he said at the beginning of the war against Ukraine. I'm very happy with the way his shirt and his jacket came out, I have to say. So anyway, let me tell you a little bit about this. This is one of my many quilted portraits at this point. And what I do is find a photo I like of someone on the internet or something I have on my own. In this case, I did something very different. I knew what my background was going to be because I was very moved and touched about this quote from him. And I knew what my background would be, and that's the colors of the Ukraine flag. But then I went, after the background, then I went and found the picture that I superimposed over it. So my quilted portraits are raw edge applique and machine quilted. And I just want to read the label because I always put a label with the photo on the back. So it says, Volodymyr Zalenskyy, President of Ukraine. In February 2022, Ukraine suffered a full-scale invasion by Putin's Russia. Zelenskyy declined international offers to evacuate him and declared that he would remain in Kiev, saying, "The war is here. I need ammunition, not a ride." It always gives me chills. Zelenskyy was named Time Person of the Year for 2022. Russia's war in Ukraine continues. Then it's my name in the year. So, yeah, this was just one of these quilts where it's a moment in time that I just felt, and I knew I had to do something with it, and that's what I ended up doing. My work's in progress now, because that's what I've mostly been doing, is working on things and not finishing things. I am working on, yet again, oh, this is something different. I am working on I do not have the photo in my bag, but it is let me just take a look. There it is. It's the Gathering Stitches by Luminous Fiber Arts. And when I started this, it was because I was going on my trip and I said, well, I need to have an easy cross stitch, one floss pattern, or kit to bring with me on the plane. I did very little. I actually did most of this in the airport when I was waiting. And this is all I've done so far. It wasn't very exciting, but I wanted something fairly simple that it was going to be easy to follow. The fabric is, I decided on a 16 count Aida, and it's dyed or printed, so it has a little modeling to it, but I wanted to be able to see it. As it worked out, I found that on a plane, it wasn't very good for cross stitch, at least not for me, because I didn't see it very well. You know, the lighting's bad. You don't want to shine like a neck light at other people. I'm squished between people, because lucky me, I always end up there. And anyway, I'll work on it at some point. So I'm using Classic Colorworks Belle Soie in Sister Scarlet. It's a really pretty red, and it sort of has it goes to sort of a pink, almost a pinkish tone, just changes color, you know. Very pretty. I'll get back to it at some point. My next work in progress is in this lovely bag, and it is part of the, don't have the cover picture, Autumn Days Ornaments by Fat Quarter Shop. And this is the one that I am doing. I put this away for a year because I like to work on seasonal things in the season. But this is the one that I'm putting on this little harvest banner. So this is only one completed, and on there I wanted to be sure it fit. So I'll have these little circular cross stitch pieces all the way down, covering up the letters Harvest. I've shown that before. And this is something I just picked up at Rite Aid at the drugstore, some cheap little fall ornament. So I have that one done and complete. I didn't take it out of the Q-snap. I'll take the top off. And then I have 2 more done. And then I started on a 3rd. So I'll work on it this fall. I'm actually looking, once I picked it up again, I was really looking forward to starting again. And that is on 25 count. I think it's parchment or something like that. Not that exciting, but right, I'm not supposed to apologize for the zippers either, right? Or the noise. I did that on purpose. Okay, my next cross stitch project is my temperature stitch. This is a pattern from Stitched Modern, and it is the Flying Geese Temperature Cross Stitch. I've shown it to you before, but yes, I've kept it up. I'm behind a few days, but that's how it's looking. So that's the weather. That's how the weather's been in New Hampshire this year. And we'll start getting into the greens and blues again soon. It's been fun. It's, I have to say, here I am in the middle of October. I've kept it up really well and getting a little bit maybe tired of it. I don't work on it daily. At this point, I work on it once a week, and that's kind of enough. When I was away, I was way behind, and then I came home and I didn't work on it for a while, so I was 2 weeks behind in that. I didn't enjoy sitting down and doing 2 weeks, even though there were only 9 stitches per each little flying goose. But I'm going to stick with it. I've stuck with it this far, and I'll keep going. Okay, so that's that. That is my in progress cross stitch. There'll be a little more cross stitch here at the end. Here are some other things I'm working on. I am working on, in progress, I have a Sashiko wall hanging. These 5 stitches here, they were from a little kit that I bought on Etsy. These were supposed to be coasters, and I love doing them, but once I got them done, I really didn't want them to be coasters. I thought, oh, I'll put it into a quilt block. So I got that done, and then I said, great, now what do I do with the quilt block? So I decided to make 5 more. And then it becomes just a little banner. Now this is unquilted at the moment, but you know, I think it'll be a cute little banner, right? And I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed doing it. It was just simple stitching when I was, you know, with people, and social stitching, and I'm going to quilt it. I might quilt it by hand, maybe, and just get it hung. Here is the main quilting project I've been working on, and really the main crafting project I've been working on lately has been the Temecula album quilt from the Temecula Quilt Company. And as I've mentioned before, I have some friends that are doing this, and one of them broke it down into an 18-month-long project. So I guess I am up to date. I'm almost done. I have one more block to make for October, and I love it. It's very challenging. Some of this piecing is very challenging because I'm not always the most accurate quilter, sewer, I should say. But let me show you as much as I can the pieces I have done. So here is like the top, or the top left-hand side. Here is the right top, right-hand side. I probably have this backwards. This is a big one. I hope you can see it because I can't. So it's progress, right? It's I'm really glad we did it this way. It's a quilt I probably would never have started on my own, because I would just look at it and admire it and think, oh, that's too much work. But doing it with friends and doing it broken down by the month and kind of having an assignment has been the best thing. So I have two sets of blocks for my October blocks. And these are done. I have a big pine tree block that I'm in the process of. Oh, okay. So here's some things. All right, I'm at a very beginning stage with this project, but don't laugh at me. I took a felting class from a woman I know up here who's an incredible felter. Incredible. She's an artist. She was giving a class last week on a felted owl, and I thought, oh, I have to do that. So this is just my beginning. Don't laugh. There he is. He's a pudgy little owl, and I have a lot more work to do on him. I'm trying to make sort of a bulgy beak there. Yeah, but I love doing it, and she was a good teacher. Hi, Patsy. I think you watch these videos, at least you have in the past. She's a really good teacher, and yeah, I do plan to finish. Definitely have a lot more work to do, but it's really fun. I really enjoy felting. I think I really need to do more. So that's one thing. I'm going to show you a couple things that I picked up recently. Just checking the notes that I do have here. Yep, I think we're good. Something I picked up recently because I saw an ad. You know, I get in trouble with those ads that are on Instagram or Facebook because I found that some of them aren't the best companies to deal with. You don't really get what you pay for. But I found this ad on Instagram, and wow, I'm thrilled with this. It's Emily Lex Studio, and she makes these watercolor workbooks. Now, I only toy with watercolor. I really don't know how to do it. I try to just sort of teach myself or watch videos. But these books, I was very excited about this. This is the autumn one, obviously. So what happens is you really only need a simple, a few colors. And I do have a little paint set. And she gives you some basic instructions about mixing colors and so forth. And then let me find a good page. So here's an easy page. Here's the pumpkin. Okay, so there's the sample. I'm not going to show you the page because it is probably a copyrighted thing. There's just 5 steps below that pumpkin. It shows you what colors to use, and it shows you what to mix with what and where to fill it in. On the next page is, I'm not sure you can even see it. Yep, here's the little pumpkin that she has sketched out. So whatever this picture is on the next page beside it, it's a lightly sketched whatever, pumpkin or whatever. So you just have to fill it in. So you don't have to worry, can I draw, can I can't draw, or you draw it and it doesn't really look like it's supposed to. And I am really, really looking forward. I haven't done this yet. I haven't had a chance, but here's some leaves. Look how pretty. I can't wait to do this. At least get it started. Do some of them this year. Oh, look at the little squirrel. Oh, oh, I could show you the back. The back has the whole, every picture. Is that the cutest thing? I think it's just good practice. It's a good way to learn. Well, I don't like anything to travel alone. So I ordered another book from Emily Leck's studio, and it was Christmas. So here's the Christmas ones. I love these. I really want to get going on making these. My life has to settle down a little bit, but I will. It will. It always does. And I just have a little simple paint set that I got on Amazon, you know. Hopefully it'll work. She didn't have anything fancy that she showed in her book. So I'll do that. I'll let you know how I do. It may or may not go well, but I'll enjoy doing it. So I have a couple of other purchases, but I'm going to tell you now about the little trip I took. Not that little. My husband and I went on the New Hampshire PBS, you know, the public broadcast television station, trip to the Yorkshire Dales. The Yorkshire Dales are in England, the northern part of England. Absolutely beautiful, and it's sheep country. In fact, they said there were 600,000 sheep in Yorkshire, in the Yorkshire Dales. I mean, I can't go wrong with that, right? Saw a lot of sheep. Yes, it rained out just about every day, but that's the way it is. And it was a good trip. It was a nice trip. The point of the trip, the theme was sort of a discovery of the James Herriot, you know, the James Herriot All Creatures Great and Small books and series. There's an old version, there's a new version that's on now on PBS. So I've always loved those from the time I was very young. Read all those books, saw all the shows, watching the new show. And my husband, when he was, before retirement, he was a veterinarian. So it was the perfect trip for us. The funny thing is, on the trip, there were 50 people on the trip. 50 people is a lot of people on a bus, I have to say that. I think I would probably want a smaller trip if I were to do a bus type tour again. But there were 2 other couples and 2 men who were also veterinarians. I thought that was funny. But I guess who else would be on a James Herriot trip? But it was lovely. It was wonderful. We visited. I think my favorite thing was the visiting in Thirsk, which was the fictional town of Darrowby was modeled after in the stories. So in Thirsk is where the James Herriot character lived and where their practice was. And we visited. And James Herriot, by the way, in case you don't know, Alf White was actually his real name, and James Herriot was just a pen name. And he picked that name, I learned, because he had a favorite soccer player, football they called it, whose name was James Herriot or Jim Herriot. I thought that was funny. But so we visited the house where they lived, the house where they practiced, and it was set up sort of like a museum, and it was wonderful. It was wonderful. and we learned a lot about him. We got a surprise that no one expected, and that was that his daughter Rosie was there. She happened to be there that day, and she came and spoke to us. Thanks to our wonderful British guide who was from Yorkshire, knew everybody, and was able to ask her if she would come and speak with the group. So that was wonderful. She was lovely, lovely person. And we learned a little about James Herriot. That was really quite interesting, or Alf White. And we learned Rosie wanted to become a veterinarian, but in those days they didn't think that a woman should be a veterinarian because it was rough work, you know. So she became an MD, and she practiced for many, many years. I think she said she was 77. Didn't look it. Looks great. And what else did we learn? We learned her brother Jim, her younger brother Jim, actually did become a veterinarian. And what else did we learn? Oh, want to hear a couple, for those that are fans. If you're not a fan of the All Creatures stories, that's okay. But I'll tell you two little things. One, I thought was actually sad that her father, Alf White, actually suffered from periods of depression during his life. And he called it the Black Dog. I thought that was kind of cute. And I guess it took me by surprise because he had such humor in his writing and just in the way he saw people. And but he did have this dark black dog that followed him, and thought that was interesting. Also, somebody asked about the character, Mrs. Hall, and if you read the stories or even watch the show, the old show, the new show, the Mrs. Halls in the old and new show are so completely different characters. So that was kind of curious, and somebody asked about the real Mrs. Hall. And she said, there was no Mrs. Hall. She said, and she was such a key character in the stories, it was surprising. She said, there was no Mrs. Hall. She said that Siegfried, you know, that wasn't his real name either, but Siegfried, the one whose practice it was, who James came to work for, and the brother, they managed the house and the practice themselves. They had a man that worked in the, did the heavy work or whatever around. And aside from that, they did it themselves. And it was when James got married to Helen, whose name really wasn't Helen, I think it was Joan. She, of course, moved in, but she had to manage all that. So she became the housekeeper, not only the wife and the mother to the children, but the housekeeper, and she helped run the practice and all that. So very interesting things you learn about real life. But I won't go on and on. I'm going to pop some pictures at the end of this and hope you enjoyed just seeing some of the pretty scenery and things. I made a few little purchases there in the Yorkshire area. And wanted to tell you about one of the places we visited was Skipton, one of the towns. And Skipton was a lovely town. We went into the town hall, which actually was also a museum. And it was really wonderful. It was a really interesting place. And I picked up this brochure as I walked in there. And as a knitter, I couldn't believe my eyes. It was an ad for Yarndale. Okay, knitters, you know what this is. Or yarnies, you know. Yarndale 2024. It was that weekend. Yarndale was that weekend. It's a big yarn festival. Except that I was there on a Thursday, I think. And this was over the weekend. And I wasn't going back. It was on a bus, so I wasn't going back to that town. It was highly disappointing. Though, you know what? Just as well. Because I wouldn't really have been able to get off the bus and go into, Yarndale. But anyway, I just thought it was so cool that I picked up the brochure and I had to keep it. I'll keep it in my little scrapbook of photos for this, for the trip. But thought that was fun. So it wasn't a trip that I bought a lot of stuff. I noticed some people came in with bags every day, and I didn't see a lot of stuff that I wanted to bring home. I really just wanted to concentrate on seeing things and sort of taking some photos and taking it in instead of rushing through stores. But at one point I said, we had a day in York, I believe it was in York, and I saw a shop that I had looked at online, and there were several of them around the area. It's called Dutton's for Buttons. And there I saw one right in front of me, so I said to my husband, we're going in Dutton's. So, of course, I had to buy some West Yorkshire Spinners yarn. I know I can get this here. I can get this at the Woolly Thistle in New Hampshire. But it was there, and it was made in West Yorkshire. So I had to have it, right? This yarn is, it's a fingering weight sock yarn. It's called Hollyberry. So there'll be another pair of Christmas socks. I am doing, if I haven't mentioned, a little knitting now. I had some problems with my hands. I'm able to get back to it. I knit a little bit on the trip without any pain. So I'm going to ease my way into it. Hopefully have a pair of West Yorkshire Spinners socks next year. I also found in Dutton's for Buttons, I was so hoping to find a cross stitch piece that that reflected the trip. And I did. I found from Bothy. Is that how you pronounce it? Bothy threads, B-O-T-H-Y. I found this kit, and it couldn't be more perfect. It is the Swaledale sheep that we saw all over Yorkshire. At least that's what I'm going to say they are, because they have those little black faces, black legs. And the pheasant. And the pheasant, we saw so many pheasants. That's something we don't really see much of around New England. At least I've seen them a couple times in my life, I think. So we saw so many, and then we saw, 600,000 sheep. And so I saw this. I said, I have to do this. So this is a nice little kit. I can't put it back together, so the box is a mess. But it comes with all the floss, of course. All separated, which is fun. Here's probably a better picture of it. And of course the stone walls. I mean, oh my gosh, all the stone walls and the hedges. Oh, gorgeous. And it comes on Aida. So I think it said 16 count Aida. And it's printed with some of the background. So it's sort of a watercolor effect on the background. All right, I can't wait to start this. I think this is going to be very soon. But didn't I have to have that? I mean, if you know me, you've been watching me, you know I had to have that. That thing was coming home with me. And as was the yarn. But then I found one more thing. I was so excited. Look at the little project bag. How cute. And when I opened it, the inside has little sheep's heads. I mean, it may as well have had my name on it. This is by, to anyone around that area, this is by Emma Ball. Emma Ball. No, it's probably too hard to see. Yep, Emma Ball. Happy Sheep, it's called. So that's the extent of my haul. And, oh, except one more thing we brought home, both my husband and I. Yeah, we brought home COVID. I've managed to avoid it all these years. Never had it. Neither one of us ever had it. First trip, my husband's been on a business type trips. I have not been anywhere intentionally. I don't want to get it. I have a minor autoimmune disease that's, has minor symptoms. Not a big deal. But they always say, well, we're not really quite sure how that might affect, COVID. So I was always very careful. Well, despite all my vaccines, all up to date, I got it. around day 3 or 4, when people started coming on the bus with masks on who hadn't been wearing them, I thought, ruh-roh. This means something. It was very hard to wear a mask and keep a mask on, because you could wear a mask, but no one else is. Or you could wear a mask and someone sitting across from you is not wearing a mask. Plus, you go eat together. We had meals together, and someone's sitting right across from you. Some people, you could tell, had a little cold or something. But they were sitting across from you, eating, talking. So you kind of, I have to say, after a while, I just went, what happens, happens. I'm going to trust my vaccines and see what happens. Well, we left on a Saturday. On the Thursday before, my husband, clearly he had more than sniffles. Now, how do you avoid that? We're in a hotel room. He's breathing on me. I knew I'd be in trouble. Again, I trusted the vaccines. And he's all vaccine up too. On Thursday, it sniffles. By Friday, he wasn't feeling well. He was dragging himself. We were in York that day. He was seriously dragging himself around. We had to get up Saturday morning at 3 a.m. We had to be on the bus at 3 a.m. to come home. Not feeling well, being exhausted from the travel. 3 a.m. was torture. And we made it, got on the plane. My husband was so sick. He was so sick that day. I was afraid. I was nervous. I thought, is he going to get really ill on this flight? I mean, he was weak. He was starting to shiver. He wasn't thinking clearly. It's like COVID brain, they call it. He was just so sick and probably so feverish. And I kept trying to feed him, Advil, drink some water, and he would go. Luckily, when he's sick, he just goes to sleep. He just sleeps through it. As I don't. I'm laying there worried, sitting there worried, squished between two people. Him sick on one side, the lady next to me blowing her nose and coughing. And I was having, drippy nose and stuff. But by the end of that long day of travel, and we flew from Manchester to Dublin to Boston, and then had to drive up to New Hampshire. That long day of travel, by the time I got home, I was sick. And my husband was, and we had it, I tested positive over 14 days. 14 days. And then they say, that's the maximum, you have it. Yay, me, I got it from the maximum. Anyway, I'm finally over that. I've been a week now over the testing. I'm left with sort of a residual cough, but it's mainly because I still have sinus congestion and I'm dripping, So I'm still a little hoarse, but, I'm not sick. I feel fine. I don't have the horrible fatigue, the headache, the whole bit, everything. And, but yeah, I just had to tell you that was the ending to my, what would have been a lovely trip, except for the ending. And when I came home, I had some exciting things to look forward to, but had to cancel. And one of those things I just wanted to share with you was this. One of those things was before I had left, I had done, or I guess it was in August, I had done a trunk show and a sort of a mini workshop for my quilt guild. And it was, they wanted to hear about my process for making the portrait quilts. And I also threw in some real simple landscape type quilts and instructions for that. So I really was, a lot of my summer was spent preparing for that. It was over 2 meetings. So it was over the course of a month, I presented and had a mini workshop. I had a lot of handouts, a lot of instructional things to prepare. And I'm just someone that just puts a lot into that kind of thing. And So that took me a lot of hours. It's fun to do. It's fun to kind of think about your process when you do. I don't think about it. I just do it and I just go with it. But I had to sit down and write how I do it. And it was really a good exercise. So I did that, gave the talk. They seem really happy with it. I've seen a couple finished products and I was really thrilled to see that. And then one of the members belonged to another smaller guild and told me that she told them about my trunk show, and they said, oh, would she do a trunk show for us? And I said, yes, but I said, I don't want to do a workshop. It's really such a difficult thing to teach. Certainly over like 2 hours. It just can't be done. But they said a trunk show would be great. Trunk show of the portrait quilts. I was so excited. I mean, they're going to pay me and everything. I didn't even know what to ask for because I've done it for my quilt guilds in small groups, but I've never done it for like a quilt guild or publicly, except in my videos. Go back to my early videos. But anyway, yes, I was so excited, and it was supposed to be October 10th, and I was still testing positive. And even if I had tested negative, I was still coughing so much that I don't think I could have been able to do that. So I had to cancel, or postpone anyway. And they haven't gotten back to me yet, but their schedule is busy for the rest of the year. And they said, we'll let you know, we'll put you on the schedule for next year, 2025. And we'll run some dates by you. So I said, great. I mean, I'm really grateful. I'm happy that they're going to, still have me back. But I was so looking forward to it. You have no idea. One, I was so prepared. I had everything laid out. I had my paperwork all done, my instructions. I had gone through everything and knew what I was going to say about everything. And then I couldn't do it. I was so disappointed. But it's going to happen next year. I'll let you know when. Anyway, I think that's really all I have. I know a lot of yakking today, but for those who love to hear the Pete updates, nothing really special. I'd have to say Pete he's 3. He turned 3 in July. He's a pretty good boy. He has his moments still. He's still a hooligan, but he's starting to become a pretty good boy. And he's a big boy, 98 pounds. He's a black lab, for those that don't know. And he went to camp, he went to the kennel while we were gone. And I felt bad. All right, you dog mamas, you know. We put him in the kennel. Mark brought him to the, into behind the fence. And he was so excited. He'd been there before, just short periods of time, and he was so excited to be there. He gets excited about everything. This is the dog I'm talking about, not my husband. Anyway. So Pete goes into the kennel. And he's excited, and he's looking at a dog that's behind the fence, and he's all excited about that. And then my husband gets in the car, and we start to leave, and I look, there's Pete at the gate. He's at the gate, and he's looking at us, and those ears are up, and he's going, what? And I'm like, oh no. So that was what he left us with. It was cute, but I kept thinking about it, of course, for 9 days that we were gone. And so anyway, we picked him up that day. We were so sick, and we really didn't know when we'd come home. So we picked him up the next day. He was quite happy to be home, but he was the perfect dog when he got home. He was so well behaved. He actually had a large dog, a pit bull that he played with because he's a rough player. He's a big boy and he's a rough player. So they matched him with a pit bull who was there, and they said they got along great. They played, and it was really good for him to have that. And they said he was, he did well, and he came home. He was probably tired. He liked sleeping on his bed. He was very happy to be home. And he was so quiet. He was so good. He was so good. He was the best dog for about a week. And really a couple of weeks. No behavior issues, no problems. He just seemed very happy and content to be home with us. And it wasn't like he was needy. He's not one of those dogs that, some dogs you just don't ever want to put in a kennel because they might be old, they might be unwell, or they might just be very sensitive dogs, like can't be away from you and would be too stressful for them to be in a kennel or whatever. He's not like that. He's cool. He is just not sensitive, our Pete. We love him, but he's not a sensitive boy. So he did fine. And he's been more himself lately, but he did fine. And I wouldn't hesitate to leave him again. But anyway, that's the Pete update. That's my update. Hopefully I'll keep on crafting, and I'll continue to have things to show you, and I'll be back maybe next month, hopefully. Let's see. I hope you're all well. I hope you're all still crafting away. I do love hearing from you. Leave a comment if you have something you want to say, or let me know what you're working on this fall. And give the video a like if you would, and a follow if you don't already. And I think that's all, because now I'm just babbling away. But happy to be back. Happy to be back with you all. And I look forward to hearing from all of you. And until next time, may all your stitches bring joy.